Good afternoon, everybody. It is Selena Zagomo, your host from the Thando channel Book Club, and we are doing a take two on this week's Book Club interview with the amazing and vibrant and vivacious Marita Banda from Zambia. Welcome, Marita. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for having me. Hello to everyone viewing.
Thank you, Marita. So a couple of things I'd like to share with you all about Marita before we start asking her some questions. And as you know, I always like to kick off every book club session with a quote about Africa that I think sums up this person's contribution as an author or their body of work. And when I think about Marita's latest book, this quote comes to me. It's a quote by Laila Gifty Akita. Africa, 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 my motherland. Africa, your people cry for you. Africans must educate their citizens. Africans must reach out to its people and empower them to build the nation. Africans, you are the only people who can liberate your citizens from poverty through education. Africans must pay the price to rebuild the continent. So this is the quote that I think of every time I reflect on your work and what you've done. And so without further ado, Marita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. That's such a powerful quote that you just recited, and I don't know if I fit those shoes, but I'm a proud African. So I was born in Lusaka and raised in Lusaka, so I'm a Lusaka citizen. I have 7 siblings, so I come from a large family, but we are all very close-knit. We have 2 writers, and I enjoy gardening, and I am vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for the past 15 years. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. So one of the things I learned from your bio is that you're actually in the process of writing a vegetarian and pescatarian cookbook. That's your project for this year. What are you hoping to share with the world there?
Okay, so first thing, it's very difficult to be vegetarian, and it's very expensive. And because of that, I've had a lot of challenges. I actually started out as vegan, but it was not sustainable. Along the way, I think after about 6 years, I started to have some health issues, and I went to see have a very plant-based diet. But I continued, so then I started to try out different things, and a lot of people would like to live a plant-based lifestyle, and it's very difficult. So I'm just sharing my experiences and the recipe books that the recipes that have helped me. A lot of them I've invented myself. Some of them I've gotten from cookbooks. Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is based on our environment, food from our environment, because most of the recipe books will have food like from the Middle East, from Asia, but this is based on food found in Southern Africa.
That's very powerful and such a necessary contribution to knowledge when I think about it, because, you know, often we want to apply some of the things that we are hearing that are really good for us, but they're written so contextually specific to that writer's experience that you're like, oh, but, you know, we don't get this, and this doesn't grow here, and this isn't practical. So yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so you're the type of writer that gives me many amazing quotes. And when I was doing a little bit of research about one of your first books, the book of poetry entitled Telling It Like It Is, I came across really quite a powerful quote from one of the leading poets in Zambia as they were reflecting on your work. And it's from Nicholas Kawinga, and he describes Marita as witty, creative, and a fresh poet rising with an indigenous taste of language on the literary scene. And this is his quote about her, which I thought was so amazing. I just had to share it with our book club viewers. Poetry, like ballet, is widely known as a high art form, and both require quite an application of mind and thought to appreciate. And the two could be tied in dance, poetry in motion, where poetry is expressed through a dance format, then recital or page poetry, while ballet is dance in which a story is told without speech or singing. Before poetry was written, and while structured as an independent art form, it appeared in our communities through other art forms like speech, proverbs, idioms, and chants. Poetry could also be traced in song and dance, culturally laid there. Even in contemporary song, you'll find it buried there. In fact, the other name for poetry is song. In the Holy Bible, we have Songs of Solomon, which is the poetry of Solomon. But while King Solomon has Songs of Solomon, Marita has Telling It As It Is, a compilation of different poems in English, Tumbuka, and French. And that was published in the Daily Mail in Zambia soon after you had published your book. Tell us what, provoked you to write this book of poetry, and why did you choose that as your first or inaugural piece of work?
Wow, I don't remember that quote at all, but it's very beautiful. I'm really humble. I have great respect for Nicholas Kawinga. I've worked with him for some time now, and we're both members of PEN Zambia. So it's really very humbling to hear that. So in terms of the Telling It Like It Is, it's a compilation of work that I had done over a period of, I want to say 10 years. So I just selected the best of that. What was new in that work was the Tumbuka, because I previously had not been writing in Tumbuka. I only recently started to write in Tumbuka. I've not really learned Tumbuka formally, but it is my mother language. So I don't even have a dictionary. I work with the Bible to help me with some of the language that is unfamiliar. And I have my parents who help me out with some of the things that I'm not sure about, like the correct cultural expressions, because sometimes I write something in French and in English, or in French actually, and then I want to take it to Tumbuka, and it has to be contextualized in the culture. So I have my parents who support me on that. So Telling It Like It is really very eclectic. It's about the things that I'm very passionate about. So things like the environment, politics, culture. So those are the stories that you'll find in that poetry book. And also just what is socially happening around us. Yeah.
Very interesting, very, very interesting, because usually, some poets really just hone in on one theme, but your book seemed to be quite a holistic sort of social commentary about the times and space that we are in. So yeah, well done to you. The other book that you've written is Traditional Zambian Etiquette for Modern Living, the youth edition, and you're doing a second edition, but that first edition that you did for youth has been adopted as an official textbook for the etiquette course at the Zambia Institute for Diplomatic and International Studies, ZIDS. Tell us why that particular book. I mean, how do you come from poetry to a book, a nonfiction book about etiquette?
Okay, so my training is in education. I trained as a teacher of English and French. And I have never really worked in a school environment as a teacher. I work as a private tutor. So I work with a variety of people from different walks of life, including young people preparing for secondary school, preparing to enter university, as well as diplomats. So it's a very diverse audience. And I've learned different things from different people. And I realized a lot of young people in Zambia have no sense of decorum. So I decided to put together a few nuggets to help them navigate to be socially appropriate. So you find sometimes you have very beautiful, intelligent young people, very creative, but because they do not have a sense of appropriate behavior, they are not able to, progress to the next stage of life. So I just wrote that book so that they're able to be socially appropriate. And I'm very, very happy with the reception. When the book came out, it was just before COVID hit. So when I took it to certain schools, the school administrators were very receptive to it. And then I took it to the Zambia Institute of Diplomatic and International Studies, where they have a course in etiquette. I just wanted them to look at it, and I had no idea that they would be interested in it. And when I took it there, actually the gatekeepers, like the receptionist, she was very resistant. I was like, can I please see the director? I showed them the book. They're like, no, she's really busy. So I went there 3 times. The third time I was like, okay, this is the last time. I'm just gonna leave a copy, and then you can call me, and if she's interested, we'll see where we go from there. And just driving out, and then she called me. She's like, come back. I don't have time, but this is a book we need. How many copies have you printed? So she just flipped through it, and then she said, okay, you know what, we're gonna make an order. And they ordered, I think, over 100 copies right there and then. So that was really a pleasant surprise, and it's been adopted as a core textbook. So yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be proud of that. I mean, I think the topics that you cover in the book really have a very practical sort of way of addressing behavior change, which is very, very important. One of the topics you cover in the book right at the beginning is a common sense guide to etiquette. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Say that again, please.
Common sense guide to etiquette.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's so many things that we take for granted, and we think it's we think it's normal because maybe we have been raised like that. So one of the things that for me is common place to do your grooming, but people are very unconscious that it's not supposed to be like that. So there's a lot of common sense things like which I talk about, and we take it for granted. And this is not just ordinary people. Sometimes you see people that we have great respect for, they're on TV and they're doing something funny, they're like poking their ears, and they're like, okay. And then also our speech, sometimes people say the most inappropriate things in public, and so I just mention those things, yeah. And also how in certain settings you have adults and children, and there are no boundaries, and you need to create that. It doesn't matter which environment, which culture you were raised in, there's always boundaries between people of different ages and people of different genders. So that's like universal. So I just address those things.
Awesome. So a curious thing I found out about you as we were preparing for this is that you're not really on social media. Is there a reason for that?
I'm a very private person. I remember you asked me twice, actually. I think this started off way back when I was in secondary school. I came across a poem by Emily Dickinson. The title of it is I Am Nobody. And when I read that poem, the essence of it is not that you don't have any self-worth, but you just don't need validation from other people. So yeah, and then she says she says something like, to be public is like a frog. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows what you look like. So for me, being on social media should be about, selling a product or a service. But then you find people on social media and they're selling their private lives. And then you find that somebody will ask, somebody you don't expect to know something about you. And they'll say, oh, so you went to this party. Oh, you have 3 kids. Like, where did you get that information from? But you forget that you've been pasting all your information online. So yeah, so that's for me, until I know exactly how I want to navigate the space, I'm a little hesitant. Yeah.
No, that's perfectly okay. I mean, I had a period of time where I said nothing on social media because I was also having the same conversation with myself about, well, what is it that I actually want to put out in the world? I don't think I want everybody to know all of my business. There are some things that are just better kept, at home. congratulations for setting yourself up apart like that and giving yourself those boundaries. I will say this though, your book is on social media. One of the places people can find out more information about it is through your publishers, So Train Publishers. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Soul Train?
Yeah. Okay, so Soul Train started out as a civil society organization. It was 3 of us. The partnered, environment, and that's fine. But then we sort of have lost our cultural grounding. We don't really know who we are. So we started that organization to help women and young people, find their place in life, in the local setup, as well as in the global village. And then as long as they know who they are, then they can really represent themselves very well at the global level. So that's how it started. And then we started to get a lot of recognition with the work that we're doing, particularly with young people in schools. And we had some companies using their social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, supporting the work that we were doing. So that was really good. And then we said, okay, so we are doing a lot of workshops and a lot of trainings with people, but we can't reach everyone. So how do we reach as many people as possible? So we thought about using
So you were telling us about how the organization was growing and you were reaching. Yeah. What happened next?
Okay, so we decided we wanted to put our work in literature so that we could reach a broader audience and take advantage of social media as well. So for social media, we didn't have a big challenge, but for literature, we couldn't find a publisher that could really fit in with the way we wanted. So that was, and Soul Train Publishers right now publish indigenous values as much as possible. Of course, there's other things as well, but that's the core of Soul Train Publishers.
Okay, very powerful. I mean, it's doing incredible work in education and really starting to gather some of your more renowned voices as well. So congratulations and well done to you for that good work that you're doing in the publishing industry. I see on your wall behind you, you've got a picture, of Kenneth Kaunda, the late, and you actually contributed to a book called A Response to A Letter to My Children, and you contributed 2 letters as one of the contributing writers to that book. And we all know that Kenneth Kaunda passed away last week, and that's a big loss to the continent and the region. Can you tell us a little bit about that project? What it was like working on such an auspicious project for such a legend?
All right. Thank you very much. This is a very important question. So, book entitled Letter to My Children and All the Youth of Zambia. And I used to see that book on the family, book too young to understand what it was all about. There were a lot of big words in the book, like humanism, propaganda. So it was definitely not for me. But then when I became an adult, the book was missing from the library, and I was like, wow, such a powerful book. And because it's written to all the children of Zambia, I was wondering why did the children of Zambia not reply to
Mm.
the 1972. So, like, have you read this book? He said, yes. Have you responded to any of the letters? He said, no. I said, do you know anyone who has? He said, no. So then I found out that even his biological actually there quite a lot in there. So we decided that people responded his 95th birthday present, and the forward is account about.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and yeah, she yeah, she did say at that time that she was responding to the letter as well. So yeah. So I'm glad that we were able to respond to his letter while he was still alive.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and that is very important. An amazing demonstration of a conversation that we should all be having across generations in Africa. So well done to you for that project. As we wrap up the book club, we always ask the authors to share something from their work. What have you prepared to read to us today?
I'm going to read from chapter 7, which is Etiquette in Social Situations. And particularly, I'm going to read from a section on dating etiquette, which has a section on dating online. Note on online dating. It is becoming increasingly common for people to meet online because of the way the world has become. If you decide you want to go along this avenue, be certain to go to a well established paid online dating site. These sites operate as internet matchmaking platforms. If you are younger than 18, you should not even consider this option. All legitimate internet matchmaking businesses will have an age restriction or else they are shady operations. Social networking sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and others are not dating sites. They do not exist for that purpose. Even when you go to a proper dating site, predators may still be lurking, but chances are greatly reduced. All the same, it is your personal responsibility to take necessary precautionary measures to protect yourself from criminals, as you would in other aspects of your life. When you fill out the online profile forms, be as specific as possible to increase chances of meeting your perfect match. When you're all set and you feel comfortable, safe, and ready to meet someone that you have built rapport with online, again, inform a close friend or family member you trust about your plans. Give as much detail as necessary for your own security in case you go to your date only to find that it is a psychopath you have met. Refer to first date detail on this. You may travel to another country for a date arranged online and never to return to Zambia again. Your passport may be confiscated. You may be locked up in a confined room, never to see the light of day again. This sort of thing happens to both men and women. Do not be so desperate for a potential love that you end up risking your life. Be smart, be safe, be wise. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for spending this time together with us. We really enjoyed hearing from you and hearing about all the good work that you're doing for other writers, but especially for young people and their education in Zambia.
Yes, thank you so much, Selena, for having me. It's been my pleasure.
No, it's been a pleasure having you. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. And to our viewers, tune in again next week, Wednesday, same time on Facebook and YouTube. Bye.
Bye-bye.